All right, so this is our handsome Mr. Tucker. Ready, sir? So today is his first day at Doggy Day School. So I wanted to dive into some really important puppy topics. So you'll see that I plopped out just some random items. You can see Mr. T is a little bit unsure. So novelty for puppies is going to be really important. So the reason behind that is your most crucial puppy socialization and crucial window for learning and healthy but comfortable experiences, if I could talk, sorry, are going to be from 0 to about 12 to 16 weeks of age. After those points, so like 16 weeks and above, or for some 12 weeks and above, there's no longer that window of socialization and early crucial experiences. It actually closes. So this is why it's so important to get your puppy into comfortable but positive based and again, science backed puppy classes. Because if right now your puppy gets exposed to things that feel uncomfortable, that are scary, and now they're paired with like experiences, then that can turn into a very big negative association for down the road. So your puppy's first sort of fear period is actually from weeks 8 to 10 weeks of age. So for a lot of breeders or rescues, if they're traveling and shipping puppies at that age group, you could run the risk of potential trauma that will stay with them forever. So I'm not saying that, just like with us, we can't overcome hardships or difficulties in our lives. But if, let's say, most of our experiences tend to be overwhelming and they don't have choice in the matter, then that can turn into more anxiety for down the road. So right now, I'm just letting him free explore the environment. I might sometimes walk through it. There are some materials, like this is crunchy, like I don't know if you can see, but it's like a silver item that you'd put in the front of your car to keep the sun from getting too toasty in the vehicle. I have some hula hoops. I have a wobble sort of, balance, I can't talk today, item to target and step on. Obviously, anytime things move or wiggle, it can be a little overwhelming. So I try to, in the beginning, when exposing puppies to something novel, is to not force their engagement with the situation. So if, just like with us, if we don't feel like there's choice involved, we don't feel like we have a safe option. So remember that for your puppies, a lot of what they're working on, for example, has no other choice but then to do that thing. So I'm not saying to let our puppies have a free-for-all and get into trouble or get injured or ingest things. But if we, for example, don't listen to our puppies' whispers when they're saying this is overwhelming, challenging, or spooky, you may be actually starting to create a dynamic where no matter what they say, we don't listen and we push them anyway. So we either create a puppy that no matter what they say, they don't get listened to and then they get overwhelmed and they might shut down or lose that comfort or confidence. So right here, I'm just going to feed them a little bit near the items. We want to be careful not to force something. So what I mean by that is if your dog was scared of, let's say, these bowls or scared of the hula, and you forced him to go face his fears, that's like me saying, well, I know you got assaulted this one time, or I know this was really a scary sort of ride for you. I'm going to force you to do it anyway. So there are moments where in our attempt to get the puppies comfortable with something, we might actually force a situation that could be too challenging. So we want to look to his body language. Is he looking comfortable? So comfort in dogs is very, soft, flowing body language. So you'll see he's very loose and wiggly like a noodle. If, let's say, he was pausing, freezing, I'm so sorry. This darn tickle, oh yeah, I put it over here, is going to be the end of me. So I'm going to do a little find it. I should have brought cough drops. I'm very sorry about the pausing to drink. But I think because, as I mentioned earlier, the heat is on, it's very dry in here, and I've been having some tickles. So let's say, for example, these items could be challenging. We could actually ruin our food in the sense of poisoning it, or we could also poison a skill. So right here, yes. So I like to go ahead, and anytime I see something behavior-wise or skill set that I like, I want to mark it with my YES and then feed him. Right here, yes. So he's also sort of foraging and finding some of the crumbs that I had dropped here and there. So let's say, for example, you were really scared of spiders, and I said, well, I'll give you $1,000 if you put your hand in with the spiders and the money. The problem there is you might start to ruin your association with that reward. So for him, let's say, for example, tubby time is scary, whatever it might be as your scary thing. And now you lure him, which means you use the food to bring him and almost trick him to coming into that space. And then you force in that tub situation. The problem there is the next time you try to use food to lure him into another thing, he might be like, no thanks, because it might be from his association paired with the yuck. So right here, we might go yes and see if we can toss a few items. So notice how he bumps into, he's a little bit unsure. I'm just gonna toss a few more items. You can see his body language here. His little back end is ready to, if he quickly needs to back out of harm's way, he can. So remember that confidence building, especially through this age group, is really important. So this wiggles, it has a funny feel to it. Notice I'm not forcing him to go in. So even though, yes, I may have tossed a little bit of food in there, he, for example, doesn't have to go all the way in. There's funny noise, the heat just shut off. So let's say he's a little bit unsure. I'm going to feed him away from the item to give him a chance to almost reboot and start again in a softer moment outside of the distraction. So all this is like a little collapsible water sort of pool for pups. I throw in a few toys because sometimes it can be nice for them to go do some finding of items with things that make noises and make sort of movement and some different textures. So remember, just like with us, if we don't use it, we lose it. So a lot of times puppies may be very adventurous, very comfortable, very resilient from that younger age group till about 12 to 16 weeks. From that point on, as they mature, you're leaving. So puppyhood is only really 5 months and below. But if, for example, you're trying to work on skills like this 6 months and above, you're actually dealing with a teenager when they're about 6 months to about 2 years of age, give or take. So the benefit, he's like, oh my goodness, that wiggles. So the benefit of trying some of these little skills with him is if we don't expose to sort of little new things here and there, but within his comfort range, the main goal there is without flooding him. So flooding him would be like, let's say we were noticing he's scared of people. Flooding him would be bringing him to Kimball's and throwing him into the mix with like a huge crowd of people and then trying to make him get over it. The problem with flooding is it tends to be too much all at once with no way to make the dog feel safe, comfortable, or pairing it with things they enjoy. So what we're doing is sort of trying to pair this novel experience of trying to find some delicious morsels in throughout some of these little balls. You're like, that jumped him. She's like, they fell out of nowhere, those snacks. So ready? We might go, ready, Tucker? So if, let's say he didn't see me coming, I'll let him know I'm coming to drop some food in. But you can see that in the very beginning when he's first starting, he's not as sure. Eventually, when he practices more of these skills, just like with us, if we're not used to doing something, when we first try something, it'd be a little overwhelming. But if we can go at our rate and at our comfort range, we can start to build comfort and confidence in something novel. So this is where for puppies and even for teenage dogs, if we don't keep maintaining some of these experiences, but also within their comfort range, nice job, sir, then you may have a puppy that was seeming very comfortable in your home or with your family or with your particular pets. You step outside of that bubble and now they're having a hard time dealing. Nice job, sir. So right here, as he's getting more comfortable, I'm just tossing a little bit more food in here so he can go and forage at his leisure. So this can also be a great way to add in some enrichment. We're building in some comfort. So as he's exploring the new textures and sights and sounds, it's now being paired with foraging. Miss S is like, I'm a wild woman. So while they're sometimes practicing some benign searching, you're now pairing it with this novel experience and hopefully creating a positive association. So if, again, this was ever too overwhelming, he doesn't have to stay working that skill. So we might go, Tucker, ready? Nice. And I might ask him to move away from the situation and try a different item. So like right here, I'm making a couple little noises on this plasticky paper material. And as I'm making the funny noises, I'm just going ahead and feeding the ground. So this way, again, notice how he went right back into the pool to go search for some more fun. So I'm not saying you have to make a whole playground of stuff at your house, but maybe you have a chair that's sitting upright, you put it on its side and you practice moving around the chair. Maybe you move a teddy bear into the living room and plop it on a chair and you work around the teddy bear. So because if, for example, the environment never changes and it's always very consistent, I'm not saying consistency is bad, But for a lot of puppies, if things become, for example, very stagnant and all of a sudden you bring them out to the real world, the problem there is the real world, and we're just doing some paws up, which he's never done, but he's doing a real nice job. And then the problem there is the world is always changing and typically is unpredictable. So the problem with keeping the home front being your main experience for life is when you step outside of that bubble, the world is too hard to cope with. So we may find right now, ready? So right there's my little kissy noise. That's my positive interrupter. Oh, find it. It's how I get sometimes my puppies to do a little check-in from either a distraction or I just want their focus back on me. But notice how he's feeling so much more comfortable to go right back in that pool. So right here, this is just paws up or step up. Oh my goodness, chewing is optional. He says, hold up, lady, I didn't chew that last one. Oh my goodness. We'll find out. Chewing is takes some practice. So right here, I would take my food. I'm going to try to lure the handsome guy, yes, to put his little toes onto the bowl. The benefit of this is just novelty in general. But also if my dog can start to feel safe putting their feet onto items, this means this could get transferred onto the scale at the vet's office, hopping into the car, going on a small walkway or bridge to go try moving into another new environment. Right here, yes, nice job. So we want for puppies to have things seem attainable and comfortable, but not have it be scary, overwhelming, or one more thing we might be sort of scolding them for. So I would recommend if our puppy is failing at certain tasks, have we ever explained what we actually want from them? Right here, yes. So as he's on his little target, his little bowl, I'm feeding a couple extra crumbs. So this is, again, a little jackpot where your puppy gets more than one snack for a particular skill or behavior. So you can see how now he's feeling much more comfortable going right and walking in the pool. That was very nice. He's walking through the hulas. We'll see if maybe he'll go and walk on my funny paper. Yes, nice job. So again, the benefit for some of these skills is you're trying to keep up with this resilience your puppy may have started with. If your puppy is a more sensitive puppy, remember to take your time with them and don't rush the steps. So like right now, he's stepping into this little container. He's still a little bit unsure about putting his caboose in there. But again, we're gonna go at his comfort range. So this is very pretty. If I wasn't getting some wiggling and fluid body language from him, like let's say, for example, his demeanor was, for example, very rigid, freezing, pausing, I would say, you know what, this is too fast and he's not feeling that comfortable. So if you're not as familiar with puppy or adult dog body language, there are some great resources. And again, I'm going to send this to the whole group as well. So that way everybody can have that as a reference point. So you'll see how now he's able to make his way back into the little container and he's feeling much more okay with it. Nice job. So remember, if let's say he's not enrolled in a puppy class, I'm not saying he has to be, but remember that this is they keep wrestling and Miss S is like, I'm melting. But I can see them doing some very nice play. But every once in a while she's like, I'm a wild woman. And then Winston gets also a little excited, but they're doing very nice together. So now they're running like crazies. So when it comes to working with your handsome guy, puppy kindergarten classes could be a really great way to be around other puppies around the same age group. So typically the cutoff is around 5 months of age. It's for puppies as young as 8 weeks. And remember that even if your puppy is not fully vaccinated, a good puppy class is essential to avoid behavioral problems down the road. So puppies that are waiting until they're fully vaccinated, let's say at 6 months of age, you have lost out on that crucial socialization and window for learning, and it doesn't come back. So remember that just like with, let's say, the lay of a land in the sense of, let's say, buildings. So if you have the foundation poured and you're already starting to build everything, you can't magically change that. So a lot of times what you might be dealing with for later is the responses you'll have for the rest of that puppy's life that maybe now you need to always help them through certain setups. So right here, we're going to do our little paws up or step up. We'll see if we can get him to put his little toes onto the bowl right there. Yes, what a smart boy. So even if he's a little bit unsure, I'm going to feed for even the beginning stages of skills, because if, let's say, the rung to the ladder is always so far away you can't reach the next one, then you're not going to ever get better at something because it's going to be always so unattainable. So for Mr. Handsome, I am using, again, moments where I might be luring him into the position. Other times I'm capturing great behavior, which is like a photograph. You capture that moment and you feed for it. The other one is shaping, which again, I will send along information for all of these things. So that way you're getting to feel how learning works and how learning theory can be applied to both obviously puppies and pretty much everything. So, but look at how much more comfortable he is hopping right into that little bowl. I'm sorry, his little bucket. Good job, sir. So ready? We might go ready. Tucker. Yes, so beautiful name recognition. So I like to do find it, which if you watch the other pups videos, you'll see what I do with find it. So it means to show them a snack or multiple and then show it to them and then send them away to go find the snack. There's many benefits to find it, and we'll dive into these as the weeks progress. But now I could do a little bit of name recognition. So Tucker, yes. So I would highly recommend to practice sending your puppy away, have them go search for that crumb, and then from there, when they're almost done eating, Tucker, and then start practicing this beautiful name recognition. So this one I sometimes call name cookie on the document. I might call it, again, name recognition. The main goal is that when your puppy goes and searches for the item, then you see if you can get them to do their name. So right here, we'll go again, Tucker, yes. Smart boy, and he ran right through the hulas, right through the funny crinkly paper. So when I first brought these things out, he was like, ew, heck no. And now, oh my gosh, chewing is still optional. Ooh, the hula hoop, it wiggled, nice. So, but I'm just trying to make it where experiences are attainable, comfortable, and not so scary. So we might go into another little moment with a find it. So ready? Find it. So I didn't see it, so I'll throw, so he's gonna get better with these. So there's the little find it on the floor. We'll let him get distracted. If he comes into your space before you are ready, I would still feed him from moving into your space. I want him to think there's a lot of really great value in coming and checking in with us, because this will be the beginnings of loose leash walking. This will also be coming when called. So a lot of behavior builds. He's like, oh, I found a lovely ball. That was in the ball pit. Good job. So we might go and get his attention. He's like, that was amazing. And do another little find it in the ball pit. Nice. So much more comfortable. What a good job, sir. So we'll do again a couple little crumbs. Great. We'll grab our little ball that had popped out. Plop it back in. What a smart man. So again, when practicing with your handsome guy, I would highly recommend, so I know for a lot of folks, they say don't go out and about with your puppy until they're fully vaccinated. I understand the risks. So what I would recommend in that setup is don't go to places that you don't know who or what has not been up to date with something. So dog parks, I don't recommend for many reasons, but we can dive into that a little bit later. I typically don't recommend trails in places where there's a lot of activity for dogs, because of the fact that you don't know who's got parasites, who's been up to date on vaccines. And then sadly, some dogs are not super friendly with other dogs or other new people. And we want to be careful that his experiences are safe and benign and don't add to potential fear for down the road. So since he is a youngster, that's where puppy class can be so beneficial. Just like here, where I check for vaccines, I check for, or at least vaccines that are needed depending on the age group. All puppies over 6 months have had everything they need to be, again, safe in that group setting. For puppies that are still younger and are still going through their vaccine schedule, I just recommend that they have their first round of their booster. They have their kennel cough, which again is normally an oral, and then they have a negative fecal test result. And then they're good to go. And then we do cleaning throughout the week. We do spot cleaning and deep cleans twice a week. So this environment can sometimes be even cleanlier than other spots that might be dog-centric, because of the fact that anybody that comes in has to be pre-screened so they're not contagious or have an issue. So this way, when puppies do come in here, and they could be as young as, let's say, 8 weeks, you're still having a safe and clean and stable environment to experience novelty and feel safe while learning. This is very pretty. So I'm not saying you have to, but there are several puppy classes coming up, and those are, again, for him would be puppy kindergarten. So no pressure. I mean, right now I know he's doing the doggy day school, which is a great venue, but it can be nice for you guys to also be part of the adventure too. So we'll probably take a little break in a moment with some of this novelty, and then we'll work a little bit. I know you guys were mentioning like puppy mouthing and a few other normal puppy skills that you're having some struggles with. So we'll give him maybe a little break from all this cool adventure with this novel stuff, and then we'll go from here. But for Mr. T's very first day, he's really doing stellar. So what a smart man. He's like, I will find all the crumbs. You're doing such a good job. Maybe what we'll do is, if I don't trip on the hula hoops, is right here, my little positive interrupter is that kissy noise to gain his attention and feed him for that. So, but we'll give them a little break. We'll do a couple more little find it's in our fun pool. And remember, anytime your puppy can use their sniffer and do dog-centric things, they're going to feel more enrichment and fulfillment. And a lot of the things that we're having as behavioral problems or trouble tends to be much easier because their needs have already been met. So right now, foraging, this also lowers their heart rate, it raises serotonin and dopamine, and it can lower stress. So this could be sometimes on a rainy day, you have maybe a little pool, you throw snacks in it, and he has to go find his kibble within the pool full of toys, or these ones are like the little kitty balls, so whatever works. Nice job. So give Mr. T a little break, and then we'll work a few more skills.